Since 2008, MPO has used the latest advancements in behavioral science and technology to help leaders and managers of organizations better understand the people side of their business. The amount of information that we have to process on a daily basis can be overwhelming. To make the best use of the information, you first need to simplify the very complex subjects. However, we know good information drives better decision making. This is why organizations rely upon good analytics and good data to make almost every decision in their organization, with one common exception: the most complex and probably most costly aspect, the people side. Ironically, the human being may be the most intensely studied subject in the world. We have more valid science and data on humans than almost any other subject. If we are going to integrate this science into your business, you need to first understand the role of data. When you think about the subject of the data, in this case your people, you can place the subject on two axes. The first is a complexity axis. How complex are people? Next, you can look at the data on a value axis. How important are your people to the business? For almost every organization, they would rank the complexity of people at the top level and their value to the business as extreme. When the subject matter is low in complexity and low in value, all you really need is the information. Just give me the data. As that complexity grows and the value grows, the data on its own is insufficient. You need to be able to extract insights from it. What is it telling you? What can you learn from the information? And how does it help you understand what is likely to happen? Finally, at the highest level, the level where humans exist, you need to know what initiatives should you be taking. What actions should you be putting in place as a result of the insights that we gathered from the information? At a basic level, we're just seeking to understand. At the next level, we're looking to be able to predict. And at the top level, where humans exist, we want to influence. Clearly, as the complexity and value of the subject changes, the role of the data changes along with it. We get at this through assessments to gather the information, training to help you understand what insights come from that information, and expertise to help you determine what actions you should be taking. That expertise may be external at first, through a consultant or advisor, but as you work with the MPO system, you will build your own internal expertise over time. We know this data has a broad spectrum of application. In fact, it has value anywhere that people and the organization intersect. For the purposes of this conversation, we are going to focus on three key areas: hiring and selection, leading and managing, and retaining and engaging. Let's start with the hiring and selection aspects. We can examine how it typically occurs today. In most organizations, hiring managers establish a set of quantifiable skills and expertise they want applicants to have. These are things that show up on the resume. As long as they possess those minimum standards, this step is checked off. Then the applicant is invited to participate in the interview process. In the interview, the hiring manager will decide if they like the candidate and if they think they would be a good fit. If all that comes together, then they will often offer the candidate the position. However, people are much more complex and they bring much more to the table. A more in-depth examination is warranted. Let's look at three categories people bring to the role. We have classified the first category as the briefcase. It is made up of a person's knowledge, skills, and experience. We refer to it as the briefcase because these are the standard things that show up on the resume. They are typically evolving and growing. We want people who are developing additional skills, growing their knowledge, and adding new experience. Second, we consider an individual's values, their character, and their interests. We call these the heart aspects. These are the things people believe in, are interested in, and what they value. These are the things you can discover in the interview and through reference checks. These are things like, does this person value making people happy? Do they value making money? Or do they simply value making it home on time? The third component is what we refer to as the head. This is comprised of personality, talent, and cognitive. These are formed early on and remain consistent throughout our life. A well-designed assessment like MPO can help you identify the things in this category. A good assessment will be backed in science and validated to accurately report what it measures. It can help you know things like, does Susie like to solve problems? Is she flexible? Is Tom persuasive? Is he creative? What motivates Jackie? Does she want a high five in front of the office, or simply a note of appreciation left on her desk? When you invest in learning and understanding these traits on the front end, then you can save a lot of time and money on the back end. All three components can then be incorporated into the evaluation process. When we consider the stability of the information that is gathered, we can recognize that the briefcase aspects are continuously evolving, growing, developing. A person's values, their character, and their interests remain fairly stable over time. People don't dramatically change their values. And behavioral science has taught us that the head aspects, a person's personality traits, their talents, and their cognitive ability are inherent to the wiring, and they remain consistent. While people are generally hired based on the resume skills, they typically fail, leave, or are fired because of the other two categories. We are not saying that folks don't fail because of skills. It's just when we talk to leaders and managers about the biggest hiring mistakes they've made, or which ones were the most painful, they do not respond back saying, well, they listed these skills on their resume, and when they showed up, they didn't have them. If that is the case, companies will typically just invest in training the required skills. The painful and expensive ones we hear about are things like, they just didn't have the capacity to learn it. They weren't smart enough to get the concepts. They just didn't seem to be motivated by the work. They weren't interested in doing it. They didn't get along with the other team members. They had a bad relationship with their manager. Their values and the things that were important to them were not compatible with our values. Those are the things that are painful and the things that people remember, not those resume skills. So how do we get better? It starts with the MPO job profile. You want to gain an in-depth understanding of what is truly required to do the job successfully. To get a good job profile, you need to evaluate multiple aspects of the job. Just as people have personalities, so do jobs. What's the personality of this job? Who's more likely to want to do this kind of work? What are the skills we are looking for? How smart do they have to be? Once you go through the MPO job profile process, you will have a solid perspective on what is needed in the job. You need to know what kind of person you are looking for before you go searching for them. Do that analysis on the front end. Once you have a solid target, then you can take a look at the individual candidates. You can utilize the personality, talents, and communication assessment, along with the cognitive assessment to identify what they bring to the table. Fortunately, with MPO, the personality, talent, and communication are all produced from one quick and easy assessment that takes the average person about 10 minutes to complete. The cognitive is a separate assessment for obvious reasons. For personality, we examine 7 factors in people: originality of thought, emotional spontaneity, aggressiveness, extroversion, pace, structure, and adaptability. With more than 1.74 million potential outputs, we not only look at each factor in depth, but we also extensively examine the various combinations and relationships of those factors. With the MPO talent assessment, we examine 46 individualized talents ranked on a 9-point scale. We then cluster those 46 talents into 6 aptitude spheres in key areas like sales, process management, and management. Those individual talents and aptitude spheres can then be compared against the skills required in the role. The communications assessment evaluates communication styles and classifies them into 16 quadrants. Those quadrants provide insights into your natural communication style, your leadership style, your motivational profile and your intrinsic needs, your decision-making process, your impact on others, team dynamics, and how you can adapt your communication style to others. The MPO cognitive assessment measures the G factor, or general intelligence factor. This is often referred to as learning agility or speed of learning. On the graph, we identify the targeted level established for the position and the individual results of the candidate's assessment. You now have the job profile, their resume. You have their personality report, their talent report, their communication report, and their cognitive report. When you lay all those out in front of you, They combine to give you a more accurate and complete picture of the person you are considering adding to your team before you select them. The MPO right match analysis takes all those different aspects of the candidates and compares them in a very objective way. It examines the designated candidates to the established targets for the job. How do their talents align with the skills that you want? How does their cognitive ability align with what you need in the role? How does the kind of work they want to do, the kind of work they would be energized by, and the kind of work that motivates them align with what the job offers? It reports the fits and gaps in a candidate versus candidate analysis. As a result, you can do a real quantifiable match of candidates to the job using the MPO, right match analysis. Follow all that up with a well-structured interview and reference checks, and you have significantly increased your odds of identifying the candidate that has the highest probability of success. At the end of the process, all of those categories matter, and they all have to be considered. Not only do they matter, but they actually exist on a fluctuating scale for different roles. Different things are going to be more important in different jobs. For some jobs, the resume skills are non-negotiable. In other roles, you will find that if the candidate is not wired to do the kind of work required to be successful, their likelihood of success becomes minuscule. You have to be able to think about each of those aspects, prioritize them appropriately, make sure you are considering all of them in the process of hiring and selection. Because in the end, it's the whole person that shows up. A key thing to remember is you are either going to have to hire smart or your management job just gets a lot tougher. That is how MPO can help in hiring and selection process. You have increased your odds by hiring a better fit for the role. Now that you've got them on board, what do you do with them? How do you manage them? How do you engage them? How do you increase their productivity? Let's take a moment and be clear. As a leader, you can build a great organization with an amazing culture, but your frontline managers are still the window through which your people experience the company. Employees believe most work experiences are within the direct control of their manager. When it comes to a positive work experience, nothing trumps a great manager. If you know that is true for your on-site employees, think about what that means for virtual work. The exposure through that window gets more restricted. As an employee, your entire exposure to the company may go solely through your manager. You may not get to experience the culture, the values, or the people. The major takeaway should be, when you put someone in a frontline manager role, you are betting significantly on their skills as a manager. We believe that most managers come to work trying to do the best job they can do. They do this by giving their staff all the good stuff. The challenge is, without some understanding of behavioral science, the only definition most people have for good stuff is what works for them personally. With the best of intentions, they tend to take all of those things that are exciting, rewarding, and engaging for them, and they give those things to their people. Then they are often left scratching their heads, wondering why their people are not responding the way they're supposed to. Well, maybe that's because what works for them does not work for their employees. Great managers understand that different people need to be led in different ways. They adapt their style to the person they are managing. Our process just helps them know, from day one, how they should be uniquely managing each individual they are responsible for based upon what works best for that person. What happens if you have a leader that has an enthusiastic, high-five style of leadership and an employee that is a data lover that wants certainty and calm? The enthusiasm of the leader can actually cause skepticism on the part of the employee. Without some level of understanding of each person's individual needs, you can have the best of intentions and completely miss the mark. This frequently results in a fractured relationship with the employee. What we do is train managers and leaders. We train them to understand these things at a deeper level. When you go through the MPO certified analyst training, you gain greater self-awareness as a leader. Understand your people better and make better decisions. You begin to understand inherent motivators and drives. You can then manage and coach with those things in mind. During the training, you learn very actionable things to do. Some of the direct application areas for the business include how to do a better job of motivating, be more effective with change management, build better, more productive teams, resolve conflict, have better performance management conversations, enhance communication, do a better job with onboarding, build training and development programs that work better for the trainee, and influence decision making. Obviously, there are many more areas where MPO adds value, but these are some of the most impactful ones with things that you can implement coming out of that program to make an immediate difference. You are going to have actionable items designed to individual people where you meet them where they're at, where you can do specific initiatives that help enhance your ability to lead in those key areas. We also provide management reports on the individual which identify things to be watchful of, mentoring tips, and management insights. Partnering with everything we listed, you have access to Jill, the MPO virtual assistant. Jill can provide real-time management support and advice about an individual. You can ask how to motivate them, how to engage them, how to onboard them, how to manage them through change or conflict resolution. Jill can provide coaching tips, give ideas on how to have more productive performance conversations, or how you might coach and prepare someone for their next role. You can also use Jill in comparing two individuals, asking things like, what are the challenges likely to be between the two? How do they partner up as a team? Where can you anticipate conflict? Jill is your 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year AI advisor that is side by side with you throughout the process to provide practical advice on almost any of the business related questions that you may have. Have a management question at 2 in the morning? Just ask Jill. We have covered how MPO can enhance your hiring and selection efforts and provided insights into how to manage your staff more effectively. Now that you have invested significantly in your team, the next goal should be keeping them. MPO can play a significant role in your retention process. This starts by introducing the well-being indicator, which tracks the health of the workforce. You can look for patterns across a period of time, or you can examine what is going on in the moment. The well-being indicator will tell you which employees are in a good place, who is just okay, and who is at risk. It not only provides you valuable and actionable insights into the health of your workforce, but can also help you identify if your efforts to enhance their well-being is working over time. As a diagnostic tool, you can analyze the data in several different ways. You can look at large groups of people, like the entire organization. Or you can begin parsing it into smaller groups and identify issues by market segments, departments, geographic locations, by the manager, or by job types. You can slice the information in almost any way you want to analyze it and begin to really diagnose what's going on inside your organization. Where and why? Finally, you can really dig into the information on an individual basis. For each person, you can identify what specific aspects of their well-being are good and which areas require your attention. Where are the specific challenges or issues? You can determine root causes and start planning targeted, intentional responses to help the relationship with that person, help them engage more, put them in a better place. Moving on to learning and development. We know this is massive for retention and engagement. Growth and development has been identified as the top retention initiative, and the lack of growth and development opportunities is the leading cause of voluntary separations. All the insights obtained through the various aspects of MPO can be integrated into your learning and development programs. When you build it into your L&D efforts, you can use the data to better understand the best methods for growing and engaging your people. We know if you are not investing in growing and developing your people, you are likely going to struggle to keep them. MPO is applicable for not only those moving up, but is also critical to developing people to grow as their role is evolving. We all know jobs are changing, often driven by new technologies entering the business. What was required to be successful in a job 2 years ago may no longer be the key components of the job today. Development used to be what you did to get promoted, and now it's what you do to survive. So how do you develop your people to keep them successful in their roles? How do you get them ready for what's next? How do you prepare someone for the next level, if that's the goal? Using the talent report versus the skills required for the job to do targeted coaching is one example. It is extremely helpful to understand if they even have a propensity to do what you are going to coach and develop them to do. With the level and type of information the MPO program provides, it becomes an invaluable aspect of your development and succession planning process. MPO helps you identify which skills to develop for specific roles. Develop people with career planning and succession planning in mind. You can feel more in touch with your staff's needs and motivational profiles. Mobilize your people more effectively. and you can polish your own management and leadership skills. Now you have hired the right person. You are managing them the way they want to be managed, and you are being proactive about engaging and retaining them. The last big takeaway is to understand that MPO is a pre-hire to retire tool. It starts before the interview and goes all the way to the retirement party. That was an overview of the MPO solution. Thanks for joining us. You can visit the site listed below to get more information or contact an MPO consultant.